Good afternoon and welcome to Blue Valley Today. I'm Kendall Shonacase.
And I'm Brandy Samuel. Welcome to our special end of the year holiday show.
On today's show, we will meet several district students and discover their amazing stories.
Next, let's meet a special young man from Prairie Star Elementary.
Maddox Truitt has overcome adversity by displaying the Blue Valley virtues of perseverance and resiliency. Here's Dan McCauley with his story.
Moving from class to class seems like an easy task for most, but can be very challenging for others.
He drew kind of a hard lot in life. You know, he has cerebral palsy and he has muscular dystrophy, and everything is harder for him.
Although Maddox struggles to keep up with his classmates, he's given plenty opportunity to be Maddox.
Maddox has a very energetic personality. He is just the happiest little guy, I mean, you would ever meet.
He's full of life. He has a million questions to ask. I would say he's definitely my most inquisitive kid.
Along with his backpack and school supplies, Maddox brings his great sense of humor and wonderful personality.
The thing that I like best about Maddox is his laugh. It's contagious. And he has a sense of humor that he puts a smile on my face every day.
Maddox's true colors come out when he's in his element. Music isn't his only interest.
Social studies he really likes. I think you've talked to him and you've seen he likes the monuments and everything like that.
It's the pyramid, though.
Whether it's music, social studies, or a simple task like walking down the hall, Maddox will always have his caring supporters by his side. With photographers Brandy Samuel and Sabir Rayford, this is Dan McCauley reporting for BVTV.
Recently in Elkhorn, Nebraska, Scrabble players from all over the region met for an annual tournament. The winner in one of the divisions on that day was an 8th grader from Oxford Middle School. Let's take a look at his story.
Avery Mojica, A-V-E-R-Y-M-O-J-I-C-A. I started playing when I was 4, but I didn't really know any words and how to spell. But I knew I liked words and numbers and all that stuff. When I was 6, I kept playing and I started playing real words. Not really good plays, but they were words nonetheless. When I was 12 this year, I really started studying and I knew, okay, I want to play Scrabble at a competitive level. Can I keep studying and learn more words? So I did. I bought a Scrabble book and everything, and I would actually just sit down on the couch for my free time and read the dictionary and find weird words. And the way I do it is I just look at the word and try to memorize it. That's just my system.
Efren Mojica, E-F-R-E-N, Mojica, M-O-J-I-C-A. I think it's important as a parent to not necessarily live vicariously through your child through something that you like, but to understand what their interests are and what their passions are. And I think that's what we found with Avery, and I think that's what makes it fun.
I like learning things, some things, not like science. That's never been my thing. I've liked things like numbers and words. Those always seem to fascinate me. And then like games is also something I've always loved, so board games especially. So when I found Scrabble, I'm like, oh, okay, I like this. Can I do something good with it? Then when I realized it's like a whole competitive thing, I was like, okay, I might be able to do something good with this.
Priorities, he's got balance. I think those are the important things, and you know, it's a lifelong activity. It's a lifelong game, and if he wants to do it past high school, past college, even better. So, yeah, more power to him.
Probably one of my biggest dreams of Scrabble is to go to the Nationals. That's where every single good person goes, who like know every single word in the lexicon. I really want to go do it that one day, but huge thing for me.
Thanks, Colin. Let's go to Dan and Parker with the sports.
Welcome to sports. I'm Dan McCauley.
And I'm Parker Lewis. It was another great year for the Blue Valley Tigers football team this year as they look to repeat as state champions.
This year, the Tigers came up with some tight victories over some quality opponents. And on Saturday, after Thanksgiving, headed to Emporia to take on the Hutchinson Salthawks for the 5A state championship. Here's Parker Lewis with the highlights.
The Blue Valley Tigers have done it, make it to the state championship once again. This time facing the Salthawks of Hutchinson. Blue Valley won the toss and got the ball first. Their normally high-powered offense was forced to go 3 and out and punt the ball. On Hutchinson's second play with the ball, they were able to punch it in for a quick score. The Tigers get the ball back and continue to struggle offensively. Salthawks run their signature offense and are able to get another quick score. Later on, the Tigers are driving down the field, setting up this play. Zimmerman fakes the handoff, pump fakes, runs right into the end zone, but apparently loses the ball right before crossing the plane. The Tigers need the ball, need to force a stop to get the ball back, stay in the game. They appear to force a fumble, but the runner was ruled down. They then stop the Salthawks. Justin Folks takes it in for a score. Tigers continue their roll, driving down the field. And Justin Folks takes one in.
Justin Folks, the ball carrier. Touchdown, Blue Valley.
The Tigers need a stop to stay in the game. With about a minute left, they force the Salthawks to a 4th and 3. Salthawks are able to read the defense perfectly, run a sweep to the outside, and take it all the way down the field for a score. The Tigers fall to Hutchinson 33-21. Being the state runner-up is still something to be proud of, isn't it, Dan?
Absolutely, absolutely. The basketball season is underway, and 2 of our local teams are rated in the statewide polls. The Blue Valley Northwest boys are rated number 3 behind Wichita Heights, and Olathe Northwest is 6A, and the Blue Valley High girls are rated number 1 for 5A. We will have some basketball highlights on our next show.
So that's it for sports. I'm Parker Lewis.
And I'm Dan McCauley. Have a great holiday. Let's get back to Brandy and Kendall.
More than 400 years ago, English historian Thomas Fuller said, "The darkest hour is just before the dawn."
This quote exemplifies the life of Ryan Jacobs and his amazing story. Here's Kendall Shonake.
Sorry, 1,000. Ryan.
93,000.
93,000.
Ryan, a very bright 4th grade student at Blue River Elementary School, lights up the room with his charming personality and heartwarming smile, with a motivation to learn and help others.
Ryan is really special. He is just a great, great student. Not only is he smart intellectually, but I think he's just a natural leader. I think a lot of kids are drawn to him because of his humor. His sense of humor is, you know, it's awesome. He always has a smile on his face. He always has something funny to say, something reassuring to say.
But what you may not know about Ryan might surprise you.
Ryan is not shy about anything. And so no, I don't think that would be, I guess he could have some bad feelings about it and not want to talk about it.
It happened 9 years ago when 5-month-old Ryan was checked into a hospital with a serious cold he couldn't seem to overcome.
When Ryan got sick, his body wasn't able to fight this common cold that seemed to go straight to his lungs.
Went in, we had just gotten to the hospital, and my parents had taken us to the hospital because it was right before he got like the chemo and all that stuff. And I think they took us half as almost to let's say goodbye because we don't know what's going to happen. This could be the last time you see him kind of thing. But also let's show him that we can still be there and for him and that all of our family is up there. So that was pretty sad because I think I had both sets of my grandparents up there at the same time and everyone was sad and hugging each other and nobody really knew what to expect because no one had ever gone through this before. I think it was the hardest kind of for everybody to see him towards his last stages because that was when they had the most, I don't know, all the treatment that he went through. I think that was kind of the hardest to see him because they didn't expect him to live very much longer.
And he did all 3 rounds of that chemotherapy and finished at the end of October.
And just when the family thought all was well, disaster would strike again.
That was a terrible day. That was a Monday morning and our families, we just finished Halloween and we just finished celebrating Ryan was home, and I think our parents felt like we were settled and trying to establish normal again in our life. And they waited till we were done with our doctor's appointment before they hit the road. And when we arrived for the first week, they drew blood and saw that he had relapsed.
After months of fighting, they were finally successful, and the deadly disease was finally taken out.
What ends up happening is, for Ryan, they found an umbilical cord that had been banked in a blood bank in New York. And it was a near perfect match for him. I think there are 6 different types that they look at to match up, and 5 of them are perfect matches. They hooked it up to his catheter in his heart, and it looked just like a blood transfusion that he had had hundreds of by then.
He was released from the hospital a month later, but his battle wasn't finished.
While we were there in the clinic, he began to literally just almost like fall asleep in my arms. His whole demeanor changed. It was just really in a blink of an eye. Went to a back room in the clinic and they began to draw blood and do some x-rays and trying to figure out what was wrong. And they thought his lungs were filling with fluid, like somehow there was a breakdown and they needed to get some diuretics on board to get some of that fluid off. So after about 12 hours and that not being successful, they intubated him and put him on a breathing tube and realized it was blood that was in his lungs, which was just terrible. He was an immunosuppressed kid. He was a kid who just couldn't fight normal colds and things. He had 24 different viruses that he fought after his transplant happened at the end of January. It was a $30,000 shot, or $10,000 shot that he needed a series of 3 of them. And my husband and I, and people from our church had come, you know, to be a part of it because they'd heard we were there through the night. And while we were in the room and his stats were going lower and lower on this terrible ventilator that he was on, we were just praying. And Ryan's body just, it was hard to describe. He seemed agitated and he was obviously struggling to breathe even though the ventilator was there with him. And his body just came to peace. The ICU doctor said this has never ever happened. The bleeding stopped and all of the films and the x-rays of his lungs show no scarring and no effects of anything that happened.
The Jacobs share their struggles from the past in a positive light to give others hope.
Well, Camp Hope was a camp I went to. It was for if you had or had any type of cancer. I thought it was really fun because like everybody was like me there and I could do really, I didn't really have to feel like uncomfortable. Well, the fundraising we've gone to Light the Night. I've done something called Boy of the Year where these candidates, men and women would like go and set up fundraisers, and they would raise as much money they could for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and the man and woman who raised the most money would get the title Man of the Year. I think it's pretty cool that I have a scar and I'm a cancer survivor, and I'll tell people how I got the scar and stuff like that.
But they don't just stop
I know
there.
there's a lot of other kids.
Miracle in many ways, I think. Miracle that he never stops talking.
Like right now.
I mean, he always, he doesn't know a stranger, as I like to say. He talks to everybody. He talks. I'm surprised he doesn't talk in his sleep. But, you know, it's fantastic to be able for him to tell a story. And I think the coolest part was after he was out, they went, I guess you could say, on tour. Schools would ask him to come around and talk.
If it can bring some hope to someone that they can be okay, you know, during it, by being intentional about who you surround yourself with. And I think that'll be the most important thing that comes of this.
With photographer Drew Garrett, this is Kendall Shonacase reporting for BVTV. Well, that's our show today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Kendall Shonacase.
And I'm Brandy Samuel. Have a great holiday break.